The radical left has taken over the Democratic Party.
Hello and welcome to Think Progressively, covering politics and all the other chaos life has to offer. This is episode 76, recorded on Friday, October 14th from Milwaukee. I'm Joe.
And I'm Jason.
And on today's episode, we review the latest Wisconsin Senate debates between Ron Johnson and Mandela Barnes. But first, the headlines.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
First up in headlines, let's talk about disgraced former Green Bay Packers quarterback Brett Favre.
I thought you were going to make like a Packers joke about how we sucked in London or something like that, but I'm glad you didn't.
Nah,
you took the high road,
fine.
and I appreciate it.
I know what team I root for. I'm not celebrating now after week 5.
So this is an update on a previous story with Brett Favre and his welfare scandal. Did you know, Jason, that was all fake news?
It was all a witch hunt by the Democrats.
Pretty much. At least that's what Brett Favre told Fox News, because that's exactly where you go to tell the truth.
According to the statement, which he provided exclusively to Fox News Digital, Brett Favre said, quote, "I have been unjustly smeared in the media. I have done nothing wrong, and it is past time to set the record straight.
You gotta go a lot slower for a Mississippi accent.
No one ever told me, and I did not know, that funds designated for welfare recipients were going to the university or me. I tried to help my alma mater." He couldn't spell alma mater. Who wrote this for him? USM, a public Mississippi State University, raise funds for a wellness center. My goal was and always will be to improve the athletic facilities at my university. Again, made $140 million just in salary when he was in the NFL, has made dozens, if not hundreds of millions more on endorsements, could have paid for this facility himself out of pocket and never miss it.
Nope.
Instead, wanted to use other people's money to do so.
Yep.
And didn't care that it came from sources that he knew to be illegitimate.
Well, I was saying, screw off, Brad. Like, you really telling me you didn't know that you were getting money from actually like government agencies, welfare recipients, when literally you were talking about in your own text messages?
Yes,
is anyone going to know about this? Is anyone going to know where the money came from?
Right.
Screw
Is the
off.
media going to find out?
Yeah, whatever.
And then once he was told that the person taking over those government agencies was not corrupt, that was not in their pocket, he said, well, maybe we'll have to have the governor talk to them about that.
Literally.
It's very clearly he knew exactly what was going on here. There's overwhelming proof in his own words that he was aware of this. And again, just like his golf buddy, former President Donald Trump, his tactic is just deny everything, say the media is corrupt, say that they're just out to get you, and that it's all fake news. And he had perfect text messages. They were perfect. Everyone told him so. So hopefully he goes to jail. He has retained a former White House lawyer as his attorney. And hopefully that is a sign for some upcoming charges against him. And he can go to trial and explain it to a judge and a jury.
It's going to be fun. Up next, horrible, terrifying heart. Have you seen such heartbreak, Jason?
The shocking breaking news.
I didn't see that. I didn't see the note you added.
Yes, I did change your headline slightly. I fixed it for you.
Republican, who is now so, Tulsi Gabbard, former Democratic presidential candidate, non-nominee, no one cared about her, officially leaves the Democratic Party. And Jason, I am shocked. Shocked, I tell you.
Yes, the person that endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2016, Joe Biden in 2020, is now officially leaving the Democratic Party.
And who would have seen this coming?
Except literally everyone, because that's all she did constantly is bash the Democratic Party.
On Fox News.
And go on Fox News and talk about everything that was wrong with it. It was all just her blind ambition. She's basically a populist. If you want to know the type of person that votes for both Bernie Sanders in the primary and then Donald Trump in the general election, it's Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
So she basically was just going where she felt she would have the most influence and in power.
Oh, of course. And actually, it was kind of funny. One of my friends texted me about this. He tries to keep up with politics, but he doesn't really follow that much. And he asked me about the whole Tulsi Gabbard thing. He said, why is everyone freaking about Tulsi becoming a Republican or leaving the Democratic Party? I thought she was already a Republican.
That's why I fixed the headline for you and put Republican Tulsi Gabbard.
But the idea was literally she was already so Republican that typical mainstream people had no idea.
Right. She has a show on Fox.
I know.
She subbed in for Tucker Carlson,
I know.
of all people. Like, oh yeah, we thought she was a hardcore Democrat lefty still.
So let's figure out why she left. You know, it's always really meaningful to understand why people come to the things they do, right?
The Why I Left the Left.
Yeah.
The Dave Rubin special.
Let's dive into it. I included a nice little video from the Majority Report here. Our good friends at the Majority Report that we have no
friends
idea
of the
who
show.
Yeah. About Tulsi Gabbard telling Joe Rogan, because of course
that's where you go to make your political announcements
about
on the
why
right.
she left the left. Now, she started with, and this what made me very angry, by saying the Democratic Party today has created a, quote, cult-like environment where people are too afraid to stand up and say, this is literally insane.
Yeah, because no one ever disagrees with anyone in the Democratic Party.
I was just like, are you kidding me right now? And on top of that, as someone who's a former cult member, we made this very clear in previous episodes.
And so is Tulsi.
And literally, so is Tulsi.
Well, actually, I think she's a current cult member, though. She never did leave that cult.
Point taken. Don't you dare compare what is happening to the Democratic Party, which is an absolute cluster of pluralism, which is awful in its own way, to an authoritarian cult. Don't you freaking dare. I was so angry and steaming when I heard her say it. And again, I know people don't know what cult means, and now you have like a lot of people saying that the Trump administration and the Republican Party today is a cult. It's because it literally is. It fits all the definitions. We had it in previous episodes talking about why the Republican Party and Trumpism is a freaking cult today.
Well, look, so in the Democratic Party, you can have widely different beliefs, right? You have Democrats like Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, who are very conservative, don't want most of the same things that the rest of the party wants. You have people all the way on the other end like Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, all of the progressives. And then you have people like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, that are mainstream
Joe Biden,
corporate, moderate Democrats.
Yeah.
That is why they disagree on a lot of different subjects all together in one party.
They're the exact opposite of what a cult is.
And on the Republican side, you've got anyone who disagrees with Donald Trump being forced out of the party.
Yep.
And, Tulsi Gabbard thinks that really the problem is the Democrats are cult-like. The Republicans, that's where you really have the big tent party.
Oh, it just drives me so insane. Let's keep going, though. She went on to say that the Dem party she knows doesn't exist anymore. You know, the party of JFK, Martin Luther King, of inclusivity.
Did she mention anyone that was born, like, that was in any kind of office after she was born?
No.
Okay, so the Republican Party that she knows from 20 years before she was born.
Yeah, you know, the Democratic Party that Republicans still talk about today as being the good old days.
Being the Republican Party?
Oh my God. And encouraged a marketplace of ideas.
It's all about the marketplaces.
Hey,
Free enterprise.
We could just debate and discuss things, man. We'll get to the right problems and solutions. I assure you, man, it's going to happen. People are rational, free-thinking individuals, and there's no such thing as any obstacles in our way of achieving those results.
We'll always get to the right answer, just like we did for COVID.
We should trust the American populace because, you know, they make the right choices.
Reasonable and rational.
So what issues do you think she may be concerned about?
Well, I do know Tulsi Gabbard, so I'm sure it's that gay people shouldn't have rights.
It's close. She did say, quote, the issue of biology.
Oh, so trans people. That's
It's
pretty
trans
close.
people. That was the first thing she brought up was trans people. Although she, again, was too cowardly to say trans people. She said the issue with, you know, biology. It's this, again, talking about how she's still in this cult mindset. She is so terrified and just disgusted by people who are different than she is. And we already had issues with her back in the day where she actually had anti-LGBTQ beliefs.
Right, always.
Right. And
But
she had to dismiss those.
Yes, because she
before.
was in Hawaii running as a Democrat where, you know, their literal state icon is a rainbow. So kind of hard to be anti-gay there.
Another problem, quote, parents don't have the right to raise their kids.
Oh, CRT.
Or masks or anything that's, you know, sensible or reasonable.
Marketplace of ideas. Parents don't have the right to raise their kids the way they want to. Wait, I thought this was the marketplace of ideas.
These are just traditional Republican talking points.
Yeah.
They're not even remotely close to some kind of stupid centrist position. This is just what the Republican Party have been bitching about
It's
for the last
populism
4 years.
is literally what it is. She's going with the issues that she feels appeal the most to that base. And that's, as you see, with every school board meeting. What are people yelling about? They don't want people using the wrong bathrooms, and they don't want none of that CRT nonsense. So that's the position, that's the platform she's adopting.
And the last one I do have here is, we don't agree with the Supreme Court, so they're just illegitimate. Because people just care about ideology today.
Not that they're literally stripping rights away from people and ignoring all precedent that came before.
Well, and I was just going to say that. We have one of the most activist Supreme Courts in Supreme Court history. Every decision they make that we complain about, yes, we don't agree with them. That's already the main part. But it's how they do it. That's the problem. We had it with the Dobbs decision, where literally they had the whole Dobbs decision come out of left field because Samuel Alito hates abortions. That was it.
Oh, because Jesus hates abortion.
That's true. Again, these are just straight up right-wing talking points. There was just no way that she just made this crazy shift without any kind of like weird natural transition or something like that. She has to be grifting. There's just no way.
Well, I mean, honestly, if those are her beliefs, then she belongs in the Republican Party. She's right. She never should have been a Democrat. Because, Martin Luther King and JFK famously didn't want people to have equal rights.
That hardcore Ayn Randian, laissez-faire capitalist, Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther King wouldn't have marched against police violence.
Oh, it's so stupid, man. And again, this is just another example of anyone who still supports Tulsi at this point is just either not paying attention or just do not care about any type of facts. I was done with her immediately during the first Trump impeachment when she was president. She just couldn't make a decision on the first Trump impeachment.
Gotta see which way the wind blows.
Oh, gross. Peace out, Tulsi. We never liked you anyway.
In that Majority Report video, they opine that perhaps she's getting ready for a vice presidential run to be possibly Trump's VP pick.
I don't think she's...
Because it's not going to be Pence.
I don't think she's popular enough, though.
She's exactly the type I could see.
I mean, she's the type I could see, but there's more people that are more popular.
She is a very photogenic, younger woman. I could totally see them going that way.
Well, then just take Kristi Noem.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Trump really just wants Ivanka to be his running mate, but...
God.
But we'll see. I'm sure we'll see more of her as she's slated to get her own Fox show, and I'm sure you'll hear all about how the mean cult-like Democratic Party kicked out poor Tulsi because she disagreed on the fundamental rights of people.
Yeah, I'm done with her. We can move on. Screw her.
And in also a frequent Joe Rogan guest news, Alex Jones has been ordered to pay $965 million to the families of Sandy Hook victims that he said faked the whole shooting and were just actors trying to take your guns away.
Nearly $1 billion.
And with the other, this was in Connecticut, in the other defamation suit that he also lost in Texas, it is over $1 billion between those two. And I think there's another one in Texas still to come. So what you're going to see is Alex Jones just trying to obstruct the process as much as he possibly can and basically just trying to ignore it. He's already fundraising off of it.
Yep.
There's all sorts of documents showing that he's already been hiding his money and trying to get it away from the families. They're not expected. I mean, obviously they're not going to get the full amount. Hopefully they take every dime he has and every dime he'll ever make again for the rest of his life. That would be the best solution that comes out of this, because you should not profit off of these kinds of attacks on victims. They were just normal people living their lives. Their children were murdered in a mass shooting. And then Alex Jones comes along, tells everyone that they're liars, that they're fakes, that they were all part of a government conspiracy to make gun control the main topic and to take your guns away. They had all of their information put online. They were harassed constantly. One of the people killed themselves, one of the parents. It's just the most most horrible thing, and Alex Jones profited off of doing that. He is a lunatic. He says tons of crazy things. No one cares that, he said that Pepsi puts fetuses in the soda, that the government's turning frogs gay, all of the other crazy stuff. He never got sued for any of that. It's not a free speech issue. It's the fact that he defamed these people and spread lies about them.
And he led a literal army of crazy people to harass and attack them and awful things.
And who is defending him still and saying that, he should be allowed to do these things? The Republican Party. Marjorie Taylor Greene released the statement. There's like half a dozen people that I've seen come forward already to try to defend Alex Jones in this are all Republicans or Republican talking heads. I don't know how they can defend this.
Well, they can't.
It's ridiculous.
I do have a little quote here from the Reuters article that we have that says, during a live broadcast as the verdict was read, Jones vowed to appeal and said his company's ongoing bankruptcy will protect InfoWars in the meantime. Quote from Jones, "We're fighting Goliath."
Yeah, is it lizard-faced alien Goliath? That's.
I hope you suffer, Alex Jones. Hope you suffer a lot.
I hope he never gets another dime in his life that doesn't go to these families. It should be like, if you remember the OJ trial where he won the criminal case, but then lost the civil case, right. And the families of the Goldstein, I'm probably getting that wrong. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, but the dad of the young man that was killed.
Yeah,
it just hounded OJ. Anytime he did anything, the dad was there to sue him to try to get that money for that civil suit. And I hope exactly the same thing happens here. I hope you never hear about Alex Jones without also then hearing about the families suing to try to take whatever he's profiting off of next. We also had another hearing from the January 6th committee yesterday.
The final hearing.
And this was what I was asking for. This was the overview. Let's take a step back. Let's look at the whole thing and give you a rundown of all that we know so far.
Yep.
It did not include a lot of new footage. A lot of it was just a recap of a totality of what happened. But we did have, I think the most interesting new footage was showing Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. They were contacting the Department of Defense and different state officials trying to get military and law enforcement support for the Capitol Police. And it also showed multiple Republican officials, including Kevin McCarthy, standing right next to them when they did that. And it's been said by Republicans, including Kevin McCarthy and Donald Trump, that it was actually Nancy Pelosi's fault that all of this happened because they did not do enough to try to get help during the riot. But of course, this video footage shows that they did, in fact, do everything they possibly could, while Donald Trump did nothing.
Whoa, who knew Kevin McCarthy could lie? I mean, this should be not surprising by any means at this point.
Steve Scalise also was standing right there while they were making those calls and has come out publicly to say that they did nothing.
The other thing that also made me really angry was the Secret Service stuff.
Oh yeah, the Secret Service doing absolutely nothing after being told by multiple different people and multiple different agencies forwarding them information that they felt something was going to happen on January 6th and did absolutely nothing to try to prevent it.
And then, of course, they did the thing. They did the thing that everyone was waiting for. They concluded their last hearing with a unanimous vote to subpoena Donald Trump himself.
So it might not be the last hearing if they...
he ain't gonna do anything. Trump already said, like, well, why didn't they ask me 3 months ago? I totally would have done it. No, he wouldn't.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't. And the only thing he would possibly do is exactly what he did in the civil case against him in New York, which is consistently plead the Fifth Amendment, just like 30 other officials did, tied to his administration.
Yep.
While they were subpoenaed also for this January 6th committee.
So overall, would you consider this whole hearing process successful?
I think so. I don't know what more they can do to prove that this was a conspiracy to try to overthrow the peaceful transition of power and that Donald Trump was the ringleader behind everything. I don't know what more they could possibly do. And if there is no accountability here, then there never will be in any other instance.
I totally agree. I am concerned about whether or not it will actually happen, if we ever will get any results from this. I hope the DOJ will actually do something about it. Man, they have to. They absolutely have to.
Once again, I hope that maybe tomorrow Donald Trump will die, and this will all be a moot point.
Okay, cool.
Because that could, talking to all of the death gods out there, that could be an easy solution to all of this. One man just has a heart attack and problem solved. He's old. He's not in great shape. Just saying, it happens every day.
And finally, the U.S. Supreme Court denies Trump's request to have a special master review documents seized from Mar-a-Lago.
This was a continuation of the court case, basically started from crazy Trump judge Cannon, who gave Trump's petition to have a special master review these documents, which was then overturned by the 11th Circuit Court after the Department of Justice appealed that decision, and then Trump tried to get it taken up by the Supreme Court, going literally through who else but Justice Clarence Thomas to do so, and the Supreme Court unanimously, including Clarence Thomas, turned down that petition. So the Department of Justice can continue reviewing the documents. They don't have to wait for a special master to look at them. The special master was not on Trump's side either in all of this, and said that he didn't know why he was reviewing these documents. If they say they're top secret, they're top secret. Just because Trump says he thought in his mind that they were declassified, there's no evidence of that, and unless he wants to provide evidence, that's the end of it. So I don't know, even if this was granted, it wasn't going anywhere, because I think Deary is his name, the special master that was appointed. His initial comments on it showed that he was not going to do anything.
No, not at all. I mean, and because they even sought him out based on the loosest frickin' criteria possible. I think it was he worked for Reagan at one point, and that made them think that they were going to actually be sympathetic to Trump for some reason.
Right, and most of the old guard Republicans hate Donald Trump.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Good. Just like Alex Jones, I hope Donald Trump suffers.
Or he could just die tomorrow.
And then
again, this investigation ends.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? It's hard to get any word in with this clown.
We are in the middle of debate season, Jason.
Yay.
I'll actually include a link in the show notes to a New York Times article about when and where to watch all these cool, awesome debates you can spend all your time analyzing, and don't do that.
As we speak, we're missing the Wisconsin gubernatorial debate between electrifying Tony Evers and totally not slimy Tim Michaels.
But this week, we're going to focus on the Senate debates. Ron Johnson versus Mandela Barnes, head-to-head. 2 rounds, 2 debates. Let's get into it.
So the first debate was held last week. It was sponsored by PBS, I believe.
No, it was the...
also the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association.
Because a bunch of outlets all did it, so who cares?
Sure. This was a format that I did not like.
Oh my God, I hated it. Okay, I'm going to make it very clear for everyone. I hate, I put it all in caps in my notes, hate political debates. They teach you nothing. They don't talk to each other. They don't do anything with each other.
They really don't answer the questions.
They don't answer the questions. And this was the worst of it. Oh my God. They literally do nothing. I learned nothing from this debate that I didn't already know or that I would know from a commercial. It was so stupid.
The format, it seemed to be like an anti-Trump format, or looking at the Trump and Biden debates in 2020 and how everyone hated those and how they could not do that.
Oh.
And they literally had a minute. Each person had 1 minute to answer the question.
And that was it.
And no rebuttals, no nothing.
No. Just make it a town hall, man. Just don't call it a debate. It's a town hall. That's what this was.
So that style really favors just the Gish Gallop of just list a bunch of lies that your opponent can't respond to, and you have 1 minute. Even if you wanted to try to respond to them, you're not going to be able. What really can you give in 1 minute? If someone can just list a bunch of stuff, you can't even really address one thing.
Well, right.
In a minute.
And Mandela even tried to say, "Hey, can I rebut that? That's absolutely crazy." No.
Yeah.
No. You'll have time at the end to make any points you want. What's the point?
Yeah.
Just have 2 separate town halls then. It was terrible. It was so bad.
I think Johnson did do better in this debate just because of that format, because he was able to just pretty much say whatever he wanted.
Oh, yeah. Again, it was basically a town hall. That's why. So they started off with marijuana legalization. And again, this is going to be a very frustrating breakdown of this debate. Johnson was asked first about whether or not he would legalize marijuana. That was the question. He immediately starts by asking that future questions are going to be, quote, fair and balanced, and that they're going to talk about the issues that matter. And then he just starts listing off random Republican talking points like inflation, border crisis, etc. And then after he's done talking for like the first half of his time, he just says, oh yeah, and it should be left up to the states, and people should really consider the, quote, damage being done by legalization.
There were multiple times where they had the moderator stop Johnson and said, that's great, you didn't answer the question. Here's the question, and then let him answer. So he actually got more time.
And this is what drives me insane. I'm so sick. I'm going to spend more of this time talking about like how debates suck and how much I hate the moderators than I do anything else. The moderators very timidly talked like, well, and if I see something or someone doesn't answer a question, I will enact my moderator discretion and make sure that you do answer the question in the most timid way possible.
Wait until after you're done and then give you extra time to answer.
Oh my God. And literally, they wouldn't do anything. They didn't push him on anything at all. It was so dumb. They may have said, well, you didn't really answer the question. And then he just sticks to his same, he just gave the same answer and they just go, okay.
On immigration. And this, I never understand this. And he did this in both debates.
Yes.
Johnson claimed that the borders are wide open because of Joe Biden, which is, of course, a false claim.
Yep.
That you can listen to our episode 74. And we detail that almost nothing has changed between Trump and Biden's administration, unfortunately, when it comes to the border, that they are still turning away nearly everyone at the border. And the only people that are being let in are actually because Mexico refuses to take them back.
Yes.
They're from countries that Mexico refuses and that we have bad relations with, so we can't actually send them back. Those are the only reason. Otherwise, our borders are completely closed, even to refugees. There's only a few countries that are still allowed in because literally our relations with those countries are terrible and Mexico refuses to take them.
Well, and again, I want to make it very clear. We have immigration in our notes. The question was, how are you going to give a pathway to citizenship for these people? That was the question. And the way they had those questions go was they had like a big panel of other journalists and stuff from a bunch of different local news organizations. This one was from someone who worked at Telemundo. And she then tried to fight back and say, okay, that's great. But the question was, how are you going to help these people with a pathway to citizenship? What's your way to reform this process? Well, we got to do the border. It's really bad. Okay, but that's not the answer the question. Talk about pathways to citizenship reform. No, you can't do anything until you get the border. And then she just goes, okay, and then just gives up.
Well, and the thing is, right, so he both claims that the border is wide open and that people are just being let in, you know, no matter who you are, no matter where you're from, you can come in. But he also claims that human trafficking is a major issue at the border.
Yep.
So how can both of those things be true? How can you have human trafficking basically sneaking people across the border in exchange for money
when it's just wide open anyway?
And it's also wide open. They can't both be true. And he also repeated the racist claims that asylum seekers are drug traffickers.
Yep.
And again, people that come seeking asylum are coming through the standard border checkpoints the way they're supposed to legally do it, and they're being processed. That means they're not coming in trying to smuggle drugs. That's not how that works.
Oh, it was insane. I was so angry. I was so angry. And no one pushed back.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it more in the second debate as well.
I know.
But it really is horrible and racist. And again, we're in Wisconsin. We are attached to the Canadian border, not the Mexican border. And that's what Ron Johnson wants to talk about. Then they moved to Social Security. Barnes began with his folksy tale about his parents and grandparents and how when he thinks about Social Security, he thinks about his grandparents. And he said that billionaires should be taxed to make Social Security solvent and expand the program. Great. But you used way too much of your time talking about your parents and grandparents. I don't care. They're not going to help you in the Senate. Instead, I would have liked to hear him talk more about what he means by, the rich should actually be taxed. What does that look like? It doesn't mean increasing the tax. It means that in 2022, and this figure changes every year, but in 2022, only the first $147,000 of income is subject to the Social Security tax. So if you're making more than $147,000,
it's not subject to it.
You're not, that money above $147,000 is not being taxed at all for Social Security. All we would have to do is adjust that up to, say, I don't know, all of it. all of your income is subject to the Social Security tax, and that alone would make the program solvent. It also does not need to be reliant on a tax. Congress could just appropriate the money like we do for, I don't know, defense spending, $1 trillion every year. There's no need to have Social Security reliant on the tax to remain solvent.
Nah, I like our elderly more like the Hunger Games, Like, we'll see who makes it the next day.
And
it's more exciting that way.
Johnson has been consistent in his position throughout his entire political career against Social Security and Medicare spending. He wants to pretend now that that's not true. And it's just a coincidence that he attacks specifically those two programs and wants them to be moved to discretionary spending.
Yes.
So that Congress can just get rid of them whenever we have a Congress that is aligned with that position, aka a Republican majority. And he even argued with the moderator who just told him what his position, what he has said previously. He said, no, you're putting words into my mouth. She said, no, that is what you said. That was your statement. Those are your words.
You are a crazy person. What is happening?
And I don't know if he knows he did this. If you ask him about it, he'll probably say it didn't happen. But he ended the question saying that it should not be discretionary spending, despite the fact that he said it should and has supported bills that do that.
We're off to a good start, you guys. It only gets crazier from here.
So then we come to crime.
The Republicans' favorite boogeyman.
Along with inflation. Mandela Barnes said that he would help fight crime by putting more funding into education, having better paying jobs, and funding crime prevention and public safety programs in local communities.
See, now, again, this is where I have to admit my own bias. Most of my notes are all for Johnson because Barnes just talks like a reasonable, rational person.
It's nothing sensational.
Hey, it's so boring. I'm like, well, yeah, of course you would fund that to help prevent stuff down later in the line. Duh. But then you get Ron Johnson instead.
Ron Johnson's response was that he would have more funding into law enforcement.
Not surprising.
Isn't that what we've been doing? But Ron Johnson said
more.
Crime is out of control.
Yeah.
And he also said that we need to thank the police, that he thanks the police every time he sees a police officer.
Yeah, what's this like, unlike my opponent who hates the police, I thank the police every time I see them.
I make sure to get down on my knees and lick their boots.
It was so bad. It was just like, and I tried to tell him, like, I'm with you during all this. Like, people try to disparage you and ruin your name and reputation, but I'm here for you.
Just because you shoot a few black kids.
Oh my God. I mean, literally, like, you could not get a more bootlicker style.
He literally should have said he licks their boots.
Oh my goodness.
It's essentially what he was saying. And then the next question was about gun control, in which Johnson actually gave his answer to crime. Because he said the bigger issue being crime.
It's not the crime, man. It's the culture.
And so he did actually give the crime answer to gun control, which the only thing he said about gun control is that we have too many gun control laws already.
Yep.
But he said to address crime, he would renew faith, strengthen families, and have more supportive communities.
What the hell does that mean?
How is the government going to do any of that?
And further, this is exactly what he said in the second debate too. This is exactly
these are his talking points.
This
renew faith. I'm sorry, Ron. Prisons are full of very religious people. Last I checked, prison population was less than 0.1% atheists.
But my favorite part about this, and he was actually called out on this during the second debate, which is the whole, so you want to have renewed faith, yet you're constantly demonizing all these people that Mandela Barnes and Tony Evers put on parole because they, rehabilitated themselves, many of which who have new renewed faith, and say Mandela Barnes is letting all these rapists and murderers into our communities. You don't want any of those people into there. He's constantly trying to have his cake and eat it too, where he's dehumanizing these people while also saying, well, if they just rehabilitate, they'll be fine. He doesn't give a rip about any of these people. He doesn't want to renew anyone's faith. He wants to lock black people up.
And then strengthen families. How does the government strengthen families? Are they going to make divorce illegal?
I'll say by repealing same-sex marriage.
And have more supportive communities. Okay, that's great. How? What?
Well, And again, even more so, who invests in community programs? It's
Right,
not
he
the
doesn't-
Republicans.
He's a libertarian. He doesn't want any money going
he wants
to
them
community
to suffer.
programs. He wants zero government spending because that's got to come from taxes, which is just theft, right?
Oh, God. He's so stupid. He's so dumb.
And then we'll finish out the first debate with the issue of climate change.
Great.
Mantel Barnes' answer: climate change is a fact, and it is currently impacting the people of Wisconsin, from farms who have to deal with increased storms and flooding to the cities with rising temperatures. We need to move towards renewable energy and away from our oil dependency.
So boring. This is so boring. No. Oh, I can't swear. Ah.
Ron Johnson's response: the climate has always changed and will continue to change.
That was a talking point back in like the early 2000s, and we're still using it.
There is nothing we can do because of China and India. Renewable energy is unreliable.
Also not true.
Totally untrue. It's generally a lie that came from the Texas power grid going down, which they blamed on renewable energy, but actually had to do with natural gas freezing. High gas prices are the Democrats' fault. Electric cars start on fire and explode. I wonder how Elon Musk feels about that.
Why is that?
And like gasoline cars never also start on fire or explode.
What is going on?
Like, yeah, we need to make batteries safer, but that doesn't mean that we should just not invest in it. Also, we can't afford to spend money on something that we can't fix. Great, so let's not try. I think it's hard, so let's not try. It's like literally, you know what I found out today? For the first time ever in history, Alaska shut down the snow crab harvest.
Oh, I didn't know that.
First time ever, because the population decreased by 90%.
Oh my God. I did not know this.
Well, it's complicated. We can't figure it out, so let's not try. Well, that's okay. Species are going extinct at catastrophic rates.
Just say the next points I can punch my lap.
How much, this is affecting the entire world, and it's affecting people here in Wisconsin. You see record temperatures constantly. It's the middle of October, and it's like 50 degrees outside.
Just say the next points I can just punch my laptop. I'm ready to go. Here we go.
And also,
oh my God.
the EPA should
not
focus on real pollution and not carbon dioxide.
Oh my God.
The driving force behind the greenhouse effect and the reason why our planet is warming.
The guy is
It's not real pollution.
The guy is stuck in the early 2000s. This was all settled. There's no debate anymore. A lot of Republicans today are not like, well, yeah, climate change is happening. And what makes me even angrier, the whole we can't afford to spend money on something we can't fix. It's your fault.
Yeah,
You spent decades denying this.
trillions of dollars off of destroying the environment. And now, well, we can't afford to fix it.
So let's just keep doing it.
Let me just squeeze every dollar I can out of our planet. The poor people will die first. I mean, people like Ron Johnson will be able to afford to live in the bubble communities.
It's so disingenuous.
He'll have water.
It's so bad.
Your kids will die, but Ron Johnson will be all right. His kids will be all right.
And I'm just imagining some of my friends and relatives that would still say, yeah, I still like Ron Johnson. How?
He's leading in the polls, unfortunately. He's gained a lot of ground recently.
Stupid, man.
Is known as one of, if not the dumbest senator.
I also found out that he's 67. He's going peak boomer right now. Man. It's really upsetting
It's
me.
a little bit younger than I would have expected. He's been in office for 12 years, right?
Yeah.
He's always looked like he's in his 70s.
I know, man. So let's go to debate number 2 that happened yesterday. Now, I enjoyed this one a lot more, just on format alone. The moderators were much better.
The audience helped. Brought some energy. They were on Johnson's side for most of the debate. It kind of fell apart at the end for him. But.
And between you and me, I don't know. This was just my own personal thing here. Ron Johnson looked terrified.
I more listened to it than watched it, if I'm being honest.
He looked like Richard Nixon on the first televised presidential debate. He looked so bad. Like he was
Tim Michaels in the Republican primary debate.
I just kept a running tally of bullet points of just me constantly going back to this point. Like, seriously, just look at Ron Johnson when he's not rambling off an answer. He looks so miserable and depressed. I don't know go, like, did someone tell him his child died right beforehand? Because he looks so bad. And again, at just 45 minutes in, like, he looks so nervous. So that's how I started off this debate, at least, with just seeing him just look terrified the entire time. So our new moderators of this debate started with bringing up the $24 million in attack ads against Mandela Barnes.
And these were reporters from Team J4,
Yes.
local NBC affiliate.
Yes. And I liked how they did that. Immediately said, yeah, hey, they're spending a lot of money against you. What the hell? And they started talking about, like, well, okay, so these ads say that you are going to be soft on crime. You're going to be for cash bail, which is really bad. What's going on here? And for the record, cash bail is fine.
He's against cash bail.
I meant, like, as well, like, it's not the talking point Republicans think it is.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I said it incorrectly, though. You're correct.
Yeah, one thing that they never brought up is how many states have gotten rid of cash bail.
Well, all those super woke Republican states.
Like New Jersey. Yeah, no, and it's been fine. Like, again, the idea that only rich people should be allowed to not sit in jail awaiting trial is just ridiculous.
Right. So Barnes easily rebuts it and claims that Johnson has nothing to run on, which is why the ads are always about him, and so they'll just lie about Barnes instead. Johnson responds by saying he has a degree in communications performance, and we shouldn't believe him because he's an actor. What?
Yeah, that's some Alex Jones
And he
stuff.
just, again, terrified. He just rambled that off in the most scared tone I could imagine. And I'm like, what is going on? You do not act like you're a politician of almost over a decade, man.
It's because he's never actually been allowed to do anything.
Oh my goodness.
He's just the Tea Party weirdo. They don't give him anything.
So Johnson's opening statement was just, this guy has a degree in communications. That's pretty messed up, right?
Let's all point and laugh.
Did you see he's black? Like, what is going on? Then they started talking about abuses of taxpayer dollars. I actually hated Barnes during this segment.
He should have just said Johnson's salary is an abuse of taxpayer
Right,
dollars.
well, that too. So Johnson accused Barnes of wasting $600,000 of Wisconsin taxpayer money by being chauffeured around as lieutenant governor. Now, a lot of that is due to security reasons. Actually, you'll see this type of hit happen all the time on both sides, where you'll see like really expensive security details for members of like the government and their families and whatnot. It happens all the time.
Mandela Barnes is the first African-American person elected to statewide office in Wisconsin.
Yes.
That might have something to do with the fact that he needs a higher than normal security detail.
Well, I mean, how many times have Johnson said during those debates, well, he never worked a real job before?
Yeah, constantly.
Oh my God. So Barnes rebuts, not the accusation, but by saying that Johnson has been wasting taxpayer funds on his family trips to Florida and a bunch of other crap. Again, it's all the same type of crap.
Which was
it's worse than
a
what
story
Barnes was doing.
a while ago that, yes, he was basically putting the trips back from Florida to Congress. You know, he was using the congressional spending account for that.
Right.
Where he does not live in Florida.
Right. Johnson then actually rebuts those claims, at least he tries to, calls it a lie, and brings it back to Barnes. Barnes responded with saying, I don't know why it's okay for him to do it and not anyone else. Which, again, I get what he's trying to go for, but it just sounds like you're being really mad that you can't get away with corruption. And it looks really bad on you, man. Don't do that. Then we went to minimum wage, where Johnson was talking about the minimum wage, and he just got really weird again.
They basically said that there shouldn't be a minimum wage.
I mean, he went full Ayn Rand. He went full Ayn Rand here.
Yeah.
Quote, I think government screws up more things, causes more problems, and exacerbates things more than they actually solve. Said the guy who's in government for over a decade. Now, this is just like a quick little tangent, Jason, but like, I am so sick of this line of reasoning. I am so done with it, of Republicans and conservatives who run for office and do nothing but complain about how bad government is, even though they're in government.
Yeah, it's all a waste, except for my salary and benefits.
And this goes all the way back to literally Ronald Reagan, right? Where he ran that I'm going to be a do-nothing president because government does nothing to help anybody ever.
Which, by the way, if Johnson wins this election, it'll be his third term, he will get those benefits for the rest of his life.
Yes.
And he knows this.
Yes.
That's why he said he wouldn't run for a third term when he originally was running for office and has now changed his mind.
So anyway, going back to Johnson's statement saying that the wage issue is actually not an issue of wages because most people are starting at $12 to $14 an hour.
Maybe because the federal minimum wage is not a living wage, and everyone knows that. And no one is going to work for $7 whatever and starve. I would rather not have a job if that's the case. And so would a lot of people.
It's actually an issue of inflation, though. And he keeps going back to this line in this statistic, quote, your dollar dollar is worth 88.3% of what it was because of Biden.
Yeah, he said that multiple times.
And in like a bunch of different ways, saying like, well, if you had this much money, like $100,000, you actually would have $88,000 in your retirement fund now, thanks to Biden. So he's doing the whole inflation thing. And again, that's not how statistics works. And
worldwide
works.
Supply chain collapsing after a global pandemic, triggering inflation all over the world, which is actually much less in the United States than it is in other large developed countries, is 100% the fault of Joe Biden, who became president 2 years ago.
Another thing I noticed was that Johnson kept bringing up something called the Joseph Project. I don't know if you heard a lot of those references. Okay. As a way to say that he has created and helped all these people, like hundreds of people, find jobs. And to be honest, I'm a little skeptical of the word hundreds there. I actually don't know how long it's... I mean, they said they were going on for, I think it's like 7 to 8 years now.
I'm sure the church that he's giving all this money to has benefited greatly.
Well, so I had to go look up because I didn't know what it was. So I looked up, and here's what it says from their own website.
He said it was a faith-based or whatever. I knew it was a church.
Right. Quote, the Joseph Project is a faith-based jobs initiative to connect people with jobs. Participants go through a week-long life skills training program and then are offered
it's a week long,
man.
Holy cow.
And then offered a chance to interview with companies looking to hire.
At minimum wage.
At minimum fucking wage. The project started as a constituent service through the office of U.S. Senator Ron Johnson. While traveling the state, the senator found that manufacturers' number one concern was not having enough workers.
Wait, I thought this was a project this was supposed to benefit people. It sounds like it's actually supposed to benefit manufacturers.
Mm-hmm. Yet when he visited central city neighborhoods, the problem was not enough hobs. No, that's what it was. Don't change it. That's what it was. I put quotations for a reason. Because wait, did you change my other part too?
It was
Curist.
Yeah.
Don't you dare. You keep that in because that's what it was. There it is. Thank you. Yes, it was not enough hobs on their website. Johnson's staffers work with Pastor Jerome Smith of Greater Praise Church of God in Cursit. Whatever it was. This was on their website. Oh my God.
Need an editor, maybe from this program.
To identify people ready for a life change based on their attitude and determination.
I bet that life change has something to do with Jesus.
But I like the idea. People who are ready for a life change. I mean, based on their attitude and determination. It's kind of like those like weight loss programs. So, hey, you're going to lose so much weight with all these things in just 6 weeks with like a fully regimented exercise program with a trainer and all that other fun stuff too.
Yeah, are you ready for a life change? And that life change is come to this church and work for minimum wage.
The class is taught by volunteers, cover topics such as teamwork, time management, financial management, conflict resolution, and spiritual fitness.
Spiritual fitness.
What is that?
Like that has anything to do with holding a job.
Participants who stay with it through the week all get a job interview with employers who are looking to hire.
At minimum wage.
I also found a promo video where they're trying to promote what was going on the same website. And in the video, Johnson said, what struck me too was that they believe, as all these black people, there's just not that much opportunity out there, that they're kind of trapped in a system. They are trapped in the inner city where there aren't opportunities we all want to see.
Again,
yes!
Milwaukee being one of the most segregated cities in the United States, if not the most.
Which has some of the hardest school districts in the entire state, if not the country, which has some of the most impoverished people in the state. MPS, the Milwaukee Public School System, has literally, I don't know if you knew this, Jason, more homeless kids than some school districts in the state have total kids.
Not surprising. I went to MPS in high school.
And Johnson's just surprised that all these people just feel trapped. Look at all these crazy people over here on the north side. I also got a fun little quote from the pastor who's in charge of the whole thing that says, it's kind of hard to be a man if you can't keep the lights on. It's a nice little toxic masculinity in there, It's like, hey, if something bad happens to you, you're just less of a man because of it too. So that's his great accomplishment and his fantastic way of giving back to the community.
Wasn't Jesus an itinerant preacher? Apparently he wasn't much of a man.
No. So anyway, we'll get back to it, but I had to take that quick little tangent because he kept saying it over and over again. Like he literally, dude, this is like the epitome of the white savior complex, where he's helped a couple of people in the inner city.
He's helped businesses.
Well, that too.
Find cheap labor.
I mean, it really, literally, like when you look at it, it looks like they just do some nonsense training, and then they do provide transportation for people, which is really good, and then try to get people connected with companies and businesses for jobs. Sure. Okay, fine. At least least it's doing something. But he treats it like he just fixed crime in the inner city.
Solved the unemployment problem.
Oh.
Single-handedly.
So, okay, going back. Social Security was asked about again. It was basically the same thing. Johnson said, reduce inflation, Democrats destroyed our economy, and then grow the economy.
Even though the economy is growing at unprecedented rates because we're coming out of the pandemic.
And again,
but Democrats destroyed it, but yet it actually got destroyed under Donald Trump and has been regrowing under Biden.
But again,
ignore reality.
This question was about Social Security.
Well, I guess that's what he feels the solution, which honestly, he's not wrong in that when more people have jobs, Social Security is solvent because that's the way it works. Because you have more people paying into it.
Yeah.
Which means you don't have to do anything to it, which means you don't have to try to get rid of it every year. That it's fine as long as our unemployment is at a normal rate, not the rate it was during the pandemic.
But also, Republicans have been attacking Social Security for decades.
Forever.
Are you really telling me that you're going to talk about that? So, I mean, they even did it during the Trump administration.
And the number one person attacking Social Security right now is Ron Johnson.
Yes.
And he just pretends that it's not.
Yes. Moving on.
And Medicare, by the way. It's always Social Security and Medicare, which never came up in any of this. But Ron Johnson is also against Medicare.
Yep.
Everything needs to be privatized. Give all the money to businesses, just like his stupid Joseph project. Let's just private business and private business exploiting cheap labor is the solution to every problem.
Yep. Let's move on to abortion, huh? So I didn't put a lot for this one because it's what you expected, really. Except for Johnson's now trying to push this new idea that he has, saying that he wants to promote a one-time referendum on when society should start protecting unborn life.
Like, let's figure out where we want to put the
kill or not kill.
Right. Like, it's not whether or not abortion should be legal and available to everyone who wants it. Where do we want to put the cap on how, like, when? Should it be 6 weeks? Should it be 8 weeks? Like, that's not a damn referendum question. Because how do you phrase that? What are you supposed to do? Write a number? That's not how it works.
Hey, from 1 to 7. With 7 being like baby.
And 2, and I know Mandela Barnes said this, but this is exactly what Tony Evers proposed to do, and the Republican legislature completely ignored it and wouldn't even talk about it.
Oh, and Johnson even tried to rebut that. Did you see that too?
Right. He said, well, he would work with the legislature to make sure that you didn't, does he know he's the senator right now?
Oh, but this is the same idea we're talking about how Trump is saying how bad the country is when he was running for president as president.
Whoever's in charge right now
really sucks.
He's doing a terrible job. I don't know who it is. I'll have to talk to somebody.
So I don't know. How good from a strategic standpoint do you think that is for Johnson to do this type of stupid answer?
To lie?
I mean, yeah.
Because it's 100% against everything he's said about abortion up till now.
Yes.
I don't think it really matters one way or the other. I mean, he's always going to be the anti-abortion candidate for good or bad. Hopefully that really does matter going into the election. I hope it does. You know, women across the country and men who are not jackasses, you should make your voice heard and show that, you know, your healthcare is not a political position, and vote for the people who support you having access to the healthcare that you need, regardless if you're a Republican or a Democrat. But we'll see. I hope that kills every Republican's campaign.
There was a new ad that showed Lindsey Graham and how saying, you know, Senate Republicans are trying to do a national abortion ban and they're relying on Ron Johnson's vote to do it. Tell him no or something like that, you know. I love those ads because it's very short, sweet, to the point, and it gets to what the issue actually is. There is no stupid referendum. There's not going to be a discussion. Abortion is one of the most polarizing issues of our entire country's history. It's who's going to vote for what at the end of the day. Johnson's going to vote for an abortion ban at the end of the day because he is a partisan Republican hack who doesn't care at all about anything other than himself.
And everything he's ever said, he is against the idea of abortion no matter what.
Yes.
And he can lie during the debate because that's what he thinks people want to hear. And he knows that it's been a losing issue for other Republicans, and even in states like Kansas with their referendum. And I mean, just the fact that his idea that he put forth as like his solution is nonsensical. Let's have a referendum referendum on when society should start protecting unborn life. That doesn't make any sense. You cannot have a referendum question posed that way. So that shows how very little he's thought about it.
Right. Let's move on to paid family leave, huh? Johnson was asked about what he would do to help mothers get 6 weeks of paid leave after having a child, because he's against abortion.
After we force people to give birth in Gilead or whatever.
Johnson's answer was, quote, I realize benefits are really popular and spending money we don't have and mortgaging our kids is pretty popular.
I know you guys like it when we drop crumbs for you, but I don't really feel like dropping any crumbs right now.
Oh, if you want to say, again, if this was like 15 years ago, that would be the line that's like, let them eat cake line. Mm-hmm. He's done. His career's over. My God. He keeps going, though, saying, if you force it on the private sector, we will lose jobs. Let the marketplace determine it instead.
So, no, just keep doing what we're doing. We're the only developed country in the world that doesn't have paid medical leave, and we're now forcing people to give birth if they become pregnant. But too bad, so sad. We need people on the job site to make us billionaires money.
Well, and I love the whole thing of, the companies who can afford it can do it, and then those who can't, I don't know.
Yeah, too bad for you.
They don't do it.
Right. It's all about the company's profit. That's what's really important here. The government shouldn't subsidize those companies and make it mandatory. They should just not do it because, they need those people on that line making sure that the company makes their quarterly income. And then he also tried to attack Barnes for, not knowing what it's like to create jobs, not knowing what it's like to be in the private sector. And I did like Barnes' response. This was one of the big gotchas.
Oh, yeah.
Where he said, all I hear is a lot of you taking credit for your business in law. Because Ron Johnson, though if you listen to him.
He's a self-made man.
Right. Like he literally built the company that he runs himself working all shifts. He said he worked third shift when he was building his business. When in fact, that's a lie. And the reality is it's his wife's family's business that he married into. Yep. And I believe Barnes said the most work that you did to build your company is say, I do.
Yep.
And that got a cheer from the crowd because it's true. And Ron Johnson is a liar and likes to take credit for work that other people do, much like
most Republicans.
Republican counterpart that's running for governor, Tim Michels, whose family owns the company that he's constantly taking credit for. And he didn't join until he was in his 30s. And that was at an executive VP position.
Yep. Then they moved to immigration. Now we kind of talked about this, so we won't go super into depth, but it got weird this time. Both sides were asked what to do with the 70,000 or so undocumented immigrants who are here and already living in Wisconsin, and yes, paying state and federal taxes.
That is a huge myth that needs to go away, is that immigrants don't pay taxes. If they don't pay taxes...
I thought you were going to say that they...
No, if they don't pay taxes, it's the employers.
Correct.
Like, they're trying to subvert the system and paying these people usually less than minimum wage in cash, but what generally happens is that they do pay taxes and they get no benefits.
Well, and I really liked this question because my guess is that the moderators already knew that Johnson was going to go right to the border, and they wanted to try to figure out, and they probably saw what happened in the first debate,
right,
and they wanted to try to get around and say, okay, these people are already here. What are you going to do about it? Johnson did his usual BS about how Biden blew up the border anyway, and then never answered the question. Barnes responded by saying that we should immediately start processing these people, and of course he should support them as much as he could. Then Johnson brought up that we should continue funding and building the wall.
Which I believe he got booed.
Oh, 100% he got booed. And then said that Barnes wants to give illegal immigrants a driver's license and in-state tuition, and floated a conspiracy theory that Dems are encouraging immigrants to come here just to vote for Democrats by saying, gee, what do you need to vote? Oh, right, a driver's license.
And then Barnes, of course, pointed out that people need to drive to get to work, and they will drive one way or the other with or without a license, and that it would be safer to have them legally receive a driver's license, which happens in most states, and that people who went to high school in the state, and yes, as you pointed out, whose families pay taxes, should get in-state tuition rates.
Yes!
That is a perfectly reasonable position.
It's 100% just straight up conspiracy theories
treat
and
people
racism.
like they're humans?
Yeah, right. No, these are just pawns to get more Democrats in power.
They're just cheap labor. That's what Johnson wants.
100%. 100%. And again, it's even crazy because he knows that illegal immigrants cannot vote and that there is no good way of them
without becoming a citizen.
Right.
And even then,
but you can't even fake
time.
it anyway. There's no good way of
Right.
doing it.
I know someone I used to work with who is from England, who is on a visa, is married to someone in the United States. He cannot vote until he gets his citizenship.
Yes.
That's the way it works, everybody. There's no secret to like, oh, as soon as you come here, they hand you a ballot.
So that was a very nice little like nod to the Stop the Steal crowd too. Ugh.
Oh, yeah, Johnson is a conspiracy theorist for sure.
Oh, 100%. He's
One of the crazier, which it never came up in all of this, how anti-science.
I was just going to say that. He was literally the hydroxychloroquine guy.
Right. And that's why he did bring up his right to try bill. He kept bringing that up and they never got into that. That is the patients are able to bully their doctors into prescribing them hydroxychloroquine to treat COVID bill.
Yep, 100%. Isn't it crazy? Just literally the next election right after a worldwide pandemic where we saw how things like how bad things could get, and no one's talking about it again.
And no one talks
Did
about
you not see what happened
public
2
health.
years ago?
In any of this, public health is not brought up at all.
No. Oh my God. So we're going to discuss Ukraine instead. Barnes said he wants to continue support for Ukraine and rightfully call out Putin's war crimes. Then he attacked Johnson for being warned by the FBI for being a literal Russian asset.
And these are when things really started to go off the rails for Johnson.
And Johnson responded with racism. Quote, I wish President Biden was more concerned about protecting every inch of U.S. territory against the invasion on our southern border.
Those dastardly Central and South Americans looking for a better life, like our ancestors did.
So, but he's basically going back to 2018 rhetoric where Trump and all of his stupid cronies were calling it an invasion at the southern border because he wants you to literally think that like, armies of brown people are coming to take your lives away.
Well, that's the difference. They're brown. Our grandparents and great-grandparents were from Europe, and that's okay.
Literally. And then... I don't know what was going on with this. He said to actually address the Russian asset thing, the FBI set me up with a corrupt briefing and leaked that to smear me.
The audience laughed at him this entire thing. The FBI set me up. They're laughing at him while he's talking.
Oh my God.
And it's just getting louder as he keeps like leaning into this. It was designed to smear me. And everyone's just like, I have not heard, and I've watched a couple debates now for this. I have never heard a crowd just laugh in contempt at someone. There's cheering, there's booing. I have not, sometimes there's gasping. I've never heard a crowd just start laughing at how ridiculous they found someone.
Well, and what I like the most is that's the takeaway from this debate.
That's the headline.
Headlines everywhere are like, Johnson, the FBI set me up. Yeah, because you're a lunatic, you idiot. Oh my God.
They set me up by telling me to stop repeating Russian talking points.
Literally, because I'm a literal Russian stooge and I'm too dumb to realize it.
And they didn't even bring up the fact that, one 4th of July, he was in Russia having dinner with Putin. Like, no talk about that at all, unfortunately. Why don't you give us to the big close? That also is a fun part of this.
I hate these. I hate him so much.
It started off with everyone hates all of these partisan attack ads that we're seeing and we're getting bombarded with. Why don't you say one admirable thing about your opponent?
And I absolutely hate it. I know what they're trying to do, but it's so fake. It's so BS. And you could clearly tell, like, there is no love between these two people, right? Barnes and Johnson hate each other because...
I wish we could fist fight to see who would be the center. I would take Barnes in a heartbeat.
100. Give me a 35-year-old man who's well and fit and who, like, does marathons? Yeah, of course I'm going to take Barnes over the 67-year-old mopey, like, droopy dog wannabe.
Shut up. Don't talk Johnson out of it. I think we got something here.
So Barnes went first and said, the senator is a family man. He's done a lot to provide for his family, and I do respect that. Aw, how cute. Whatever. Boring. It was all boring. I hate it.
Well, he's not going to say his record in the Senate.
Oh, my God. Johnson then goes, likewise, I appreciate the fact that Barnes...
could not think of anything.
Oh, no.
What he said.
All I could think was black. Black.
He's so well-spoken.
I appreciate the fact that Barnes had loving parents.
He had 2 parents, everybody. Can you believe that?
A school teacher, a good upbringing. Yeah, he's one of those good ones. I couldn't get over like, he had 2 loving parents, a school teacher, a good upbringing. That's his nice, admirable things. Like, he had a good upbringing. Oh my God. No, not one of those hoodlums I usually see.
He never stole my car stereo.
So that should be the end. It should be like, cool, whatever, applause, happy times, right? No, Johnson
could
kept
not help
going.
himself.
Good old Ron continues by saying, what puzzles me, though, is that even with that good upbringing, why has he turned against America?
And boos are cascading down.
I mean, why does he find America awful?
And he keeps going. I mean, the crowd is booing him. And he just keeps going. You can see it in his face. He acknowledges, he's like, ugh. And then, like, whatever, I'm going to push on and finish my sentence. I don't care that the entire crowd, which, again, was more on his side to begin with in this debate, he was getting more cheers than Barnes was. But by the end of it, he was getting booed by the entire crowd.
Oh, man. He has Trump syndrome. He needs to learn to shut up. That's all it is, man. What is happening? So, literally, the niceness, the stupid niceness that no one cares about. Barnes says he's a nice family man. And Johnson, he hates America. But guess what? He had good parents.
He had 2 parents.
And I love that. Even with that upbringing.
Yep.
I love that caveat.
He had both his parents. I don't understand what went wrong.
Because literally, just like, I would totally give he had no parents, like most of them. I could just, the N-word was just about to come out at some point real soon.
He had all 3 points of my how to stop crime. I don't understand what went
The bars are like, stop! For the love of God, stop! We're gonna get canceled.
The crowd is like, boo, stop, boo. Like, nope, I'm gonna finish the sentence. I've never heard anyone complain that Ron Johnson was too smart.
Oh, man. Guess what, Jason?
We're done, finally?
We've got the governor debate next week.
Yay. Sure, you're all looking forward to that. It's over with now while we've been recording.
So let's actually wrap this up very nice and succinctly. What were your thoughts about both debates?
Be a first. That doesn't matter anyway because no one watches them. We proved that with the Republican primary governor debates, in which Tim Michaels looked like a sweaty mess and still won.
Hence, I was going to say the presidential debates. Are you kidding me? I will actually say, though, I think overall, these were very good for Barnes. You're 100% correct. No one's going to hear we can talk about it, we can laugh, but we're the political elites, right? We are the junkies. We care about this stuff. No one else does. I understand that.
We are the unfortunate people that decided to do a political podcast, and because of that terrible decision, now have to watch this.
Exactly. So I totally understand that the effect will be limited. However, there are so many news lines that could come out of that stupid debate, and the attack ads write themselves. Good job. Like, this was the best thing for the Barnes campaign when we were trying to deal with this onslaught of nonsense crime ads that the Republicans are just constantly pushing. This is a great way of pushing back, and I'm hoping that Barnes is going to be able to push back at least a little bit now because of how bad this debate was for Johnson.
I hope we see a reversal in the polls. We'll see. Barnes started out ahead when he had the nomination.
Yep.
But it's been trending down ever since for some reason. Again, Ron Johnson has not gotten any smarter or is not any less of a traitor to his country.
I was just saying, it's not because Johnson's better. It's the other way around. Next week, governor debate. That's happening now. So we'll be a week late. We're sorry, but we didn't schedule the debate.
It's happening. It's over with now. But yeah, we have a schedule to maintain here, people.
I'll see y'all next week.
Thank you for listening. We hope to see you in the next episode. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at ThinkProPod. You can email us at thinkpropod@gmail.com. And remember, when in doubt, think progressively.
Johnson goes first, and he immediately starts.
Johnson go first.
Oh my God, I know. Johnson goes first, and he, oh my God.